I've played Minecraft for years, but today I'm time traveling back to an era full of nostalgia. In this video, I spent 100 days reliving the golden age of Minecraft. I hope you enjoy. Starting in day number 1, I loaded into the world for the first time. After looking around for a little bit, I found my first tree and began to chop it down to get some wood. After gathering my newly acquired wood, I began to do what all Minecrafters do on day 1 and make a wooden pickaxe. I then walked over to a nearby cave, and after quickly glancing for mobs, I began to mine some cobblestone. After making a cobblestone pickaxe, I decided to mine some coal just in case I needed to make some torches so I can light up the cave. I then began to advance deeper into the cave, remembering how scary old Minecraft used to be. After not building up the courage to go deeper into the cave, I got the remaining cobblestone I needed and I left. In efforts to get some food, I ran over to the sheep and killed it. However, I forgot that they don't drop meat in this version of Minecraft. I made a stone sword before advancing deeper in the cave in efforts to get some iron. After only a couple of minutes, I finally found some. And I don't know why, but this is when the nostalgia really started to kick in. I spent the second half of day number 1 gathering up some food before going out and exploring for a place I can call home. After minimal exploration, I found a village, and I decided to grab some wool so I can make a bed and get the well-deserved rest I needed for night 1. In the early morning of day number 2, I began by chopping down some trees to get some wood, and in my first zombie fight in the world, I luckily won. Shortly after returning to the village, I found a villager stuck on the roof, so I decided to have a friendly conversation with him. And naturally, I threw an egg at him. I made some plans to head up to a nearby mountain to get some more iron, and after putting away all my valuables and making an iron helmet, I decided to head up. I fairly quickly found and mined some coal, but unfortunately, that would be one of the only things I find on this trip. Coal vein after coal vein, but still not finding the iron that I really needed. After leaving the small cave, I stumbled upon a creeper, and in all efforts to save my life, I placed a block. And I got lucky because it worked. Not wanting to make the trip back at night, I grabbed up my bed and slept for day number 2. In day number 3, I was very determined to find at least one more vein of iron. I found a cave that looked pretty promising, so I set my respawn point and decided to search it. With over 32 torches in hand, I came prepared, but after finding out that the cave came to a dead end, I left. I found one more tiny cave, but unfortunately, luck was not on my side today, as there was no iron in the cave. With my hopes down, I decided to take a break from mining by scaling up to the top of a mountain to get a view of my surroundings. After spotting sand in the distance, I went to go grab some so I can have windows in my starter house. And also, I really do miss these sand textures. At the night of day number 3, I got a look at the perfect sunset. At this exact moment, I had a feeling of peace, knowing that these 100 days would be nothing but nostalgic fun. And I then went to bed. On day number 4, I was desperate to find something other than coal, so I went back in the caves yet again to find some iron. I ended up randomly running into 2 creepers and a zombie, and after a short fight, I came out on top. After what felt like literal hours of searching, I finally found iron. With a smile on my face, I ran back to the village, getting ready to smelt the iron. But before I could finish fully smelting it, it was already the end of night 4. At the start of day number 5, I took my newly smelted iron and I made an iron chest plate. I decided that today was the day where I find a spot to build my house. After finding the perfect spot, I decided to mark it with oak planks so I wouldn't lose it in the future. In need of some cobblestone for my house, I decided to make a small mine. And I kid you not, when my pickaxe broke right here, I got jump scared in real life. I began to clear out an area to build the foundation of the house, and then finally, I started building. I wanted this house to be simple yet effective and also give off those vibes of old Minecraft and nostalgia. I started by taking some oak logs and placing them equally in the corners, and then I took some oak planks and I connected them all. This gave me a good foundation to build off of. In day number 6, I also made a foundation for the roof, and I used oak planks to connect all the logs together, and I think that also made a good foundation to build off of. After like 5 minutes of struggling, figuring out how to make glass panes, I finally got it to work, and then I built the entrance to the house. And to finish off the entrance, I placed 2 doors, and now we have the start to our little home. I then added all the windows, which I think really adds a lot to this house, and now I can watch the beautiful sunset safely in the comfort of my own home. I went to gather some cobblestone to replace the dirty grass with, and trust me when I tell you, it looks 100 times better than before. With day number 6 coming to a close, I took one last look at the beautiful sunset before heading to bed. Day number 7, I started working on the roof design, and with only needing to refill on cobblestone a few times, I finished it with ease. I said to myself, you know what, why not add some design? So I made this little flower bed thingy outside the house on both sides, and I think it did add a lot of detail to the house. For the lighting inside the house, I decided to use torches just because that's what everyone kind of used back then in old Minecraft, and I think it made it feel more cozy inside and gave it some extra light. Now, as you all know, this house isn't exactly finished until we place a crafting table next to a furnace, and now it's a home. What a wonderful way to end day number 7. In day number 8, I went exploring and I found this really weird looking ravine. It looked like there's a lot of little caves built inside of it, but when I went down and checked it, I realized that it was just the shadow lighting of old Minecraft. Luckily, I was able to find some iron, so at least I'm not going home empty-handed. I was actually able to find multiple veins of iron, so I guess I was just lucky today. By the time I made it out of the cave, it was already nighttime, so I had to carefully make it back so I wouldn't get killed by any mobs. I started day number 9 by crafting some armor and tools with the iron I found in the ravine. I wanted to add more detail to the outdoor flower beds, so I got some trapdoors, and it did add some detail. I spent the rest of day 9 clearing out and setting up an area to build a wheat farm. And then in day 10, I started laying down all the soil so I could prepare it for the wheat. I picked this little hill to build the wheat farm on because I actually wanted it to look good, so later when I'm adding more detail to it, I have a good base to start. I found a chicken egg lying on the floor, and I played a little game where if it lands and hatches a chicken, the chicken gets to live. But unfortunately for the chicken, it did not hatch a baby chicken. I wanted to finally get some diamonds, so I went down to Y level 12, and let me tell you, mining cobblestone versus deep slate is so nice. I ended up spending the rest of day 10 and the entirety of day 11 down in the mines, and let me show you what I found. After about 10 minutes of mining, I found these diamonds, which was like kind of mixed in with an iron vein, and I thought that was really weird. I ended up mining around the diamonds just in case if there's any lava before I started actually mining them. And the total diamonds was only 3. It is now day 11 and I found this lava pool, so I decided to make a diamond pickaxe and get some obsidian so I can make a nether portal as well as an enchanting table. I spent the rest of day 11 strip mining for more diamonds, but without finding anything, I turned around and went home for the night. But before I could go to sleep, I got jump scared by a spider who somehow snuck into my house, and on the start of day number 12, I built the nether portal. At first, I was a little hesitant to go in, not knowing what lies behind the portal, but after building a little bit of confidence, I took the risk and jumped in. Right off spawn, I heard a ghast, and seeing the old textured netherrack sent shivers down my spine. Out of fear, I returned back to the portal, but still wanted to come back later. I didn't know what at the time, but I wanted to start another build project, so I started by clearing out an area of land. I also decided to cover up this pond because I didn't think it would look good, so I'm sorry to all the fish that were currently living there. I woke up on day number 13 creative and ready to build, so I started with this cobblestone circle, and now I have a base for my castle house thingy. I don't really know what you would call this build, so let me know what you think in the comments below. Before I continue building, I unfortunately lost a fight to a creeper, so I had to go grab some extra dirt to fill in this hole. I went over to the forest and I began to chop down every tree I could see, and I returned home just in time before mobs started spawning. On day number 14, I started by expanding the wheat field, and then I finally got back to work on the build project. I started by placing oak logs in each of these corners, and then went around the entire area placing cobblestone stairs. After that, I built these little window holes just for some added detail, but after adding the glass pane, it looked really weird. So I fixed this by getting even more sand, smelting it down, and replacing it with glass blocks, and that fixed the problem. I wanted this build to stand out and be unique, so I decided to make it into a 2-story building. And the design I chose was definitely unique. On day number 15, I copied this design on all the corners and then connected them all with logs. So far, I didn't exactly know what I was building still, but I knew that if I stayed creative, it'll look good in the end. So that's exactly what I did. When building the exterior, I just kept adding new ideas that came to me on the spot. By the way, I forgot to mention this before, but it's now day 16. I wanted to add a fancy little staircase, so I started by making an outline out of cobblestone. I then filled in the outline with cobblestone stairs, and after a bit of tweaking, this is the final result. I started to fill in the floor for the base of the second story, and then on day 17, I added railing to prevent falling down the stairs, I guess. I continued to work on the exterior design, and I also added this cool window here, and now it was time to finish up all the walls. After that, I took a quick break from building to go grab some wood, and then I went back to the house to take a quick look at what I built so far. Isn't she beautiful? When I returned to building, I connected the 4 corners of oak logs with some planks, and then I made some windows out of it. I started the roof construction by adding some logs to the corners, and then on day 18, I connected everything with cobblestone. For the second layer of the roof, I decided to go 1 block up and use cobblestone slabs, and this was because I thought a little opening in the roof would look pretty cool. I then began to fill in the roof, and I ended up loving it. I wanted the transition from the roof to the main part of the house to look cool, so I thought of an idea and I went with it. When I finished it on the night of day 18, I was really happy with it. I spent day 19 on interior design, and for pretty much the entire rest of day 19, I was AFK. I don't remember exactly why I went AFK, but I do know that I accidentally forgot to pause the game. Day number 20, finally the first big milestone in our world. I know it's kind of boring, but I actually spent from day 20 all the way to day 24 in the mines trying to get some diamonds. I don't want to waste your time, so I'm going to give you a quick time lapse of these 4 days, and at the end, I'll show you everything I got. So after that long, dreadful 4 days, I finally came out with 10 diamonds. I mean, I did end up with a decent amount of iron, but only 10 diamonds in 4 days, that is insane. I started day 25 by planting some sugarcane because I wanted to start getting ready for making enchantments. I then started to expand the farm, and it actually started to look pretty good. I wanted to do something more exciting, so I went exploring in hopes to find myself a dog. I jumped off this hill to do a water bucket clutch, and obviously, as you can see, I did so good. There was some water ahead of me, so I made a boat, and this boat texture is just so nostalgic. When approaching land, I ran my boat into the side, and I somehow forgot that boats break on impact. I tested another water bucket clutch, and luckily this time, it actually worked. When the sun started setting, I decided to run home, and I was kind of disappointed, to be honest, because I didn't find the dog I wanted. The way back was actually pretty difficult as I ran into a bunch of different mobs and even a zombie villager. I honestly have no idea why, but on day 26, I decided to make all my iron into iron blocks, and then went outside and I started to make a tower out of them. Yeah, I think I'm going a little crazy. After building the tower, I did an insane water bucket clutch. Okay, maybe it wasn't actually insane, but I still did it, so. I began to harvest and plant some more sugarcane around the pond, and then I took the remaining sugarcane and made it into some paper, and then I made a book with it. Next, I used that book to make an enchantment table, and after finding a spot to place it down, I decided to make a cool little area for it. Again, like usual, I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to do with it, but I spent the rest of day 26 building it out, and after a little trial and error, I was happy with the final result. I ended up enchanting my iron sword and diamond pickaxe before finally heading to bed for night 26. I started day 27 by making a chest plate out of my remaining diamonds, and now I'm drippy. This entire day was a pretty uneventful day because I just enchanted book after book after book, gambling to try to get a good enchantment. This continued throughout basically the entire day. To be honest, it was not worth it. I began day 28 by finally breaking down the giant tower of iron blocks because I needed some iron to make a shovel. I ended up also making a bunch of torches, and yet again, I was heading back down to the mines. Day Day 28 through 31 were spent down here, and instead of boring you with another time lapse, I'm just going to show you the highlights of every time I found diamonds. I found my first vein after about 15 minutes of strip mining, and the total diamonds in that vein were 6. Literally like 3 minutes later, I ran into my second vein, and the total amount of diamonds in this one were 8. With the amount of diamonds I already had, I decided to make some diamond leggings as well as a helmet, and after putting them on, I went straight back to mining. It was about an hour before I found my next vein of diamonds, and this vein had over 5 diamonds in it. After getting all the diamonds I needed, I finally was able to finish my set of full diamond armor. I also decided to make a diamond sword because why not? When I finally was able to leave the cave, it was about halfway through day 31, and I immediately started smelting all the ores I got. During the 3 days I was in the cave, all of my sugarcane kept growing, so when I came back, I was able to harvest a bunch of it. At first, I turned all of my new sugarcane into paper, and then I made as much books as I could. After that, I crafted all the books into bookshelves, and then I replaced the back fences with these new bookshelves. I attempted to get a good enchant on my diamond sword, however that was not really the case because I got Unbreaking 1. In day number 32, I wanted to build a castle in the mountains, so after grabbing all the cobblestone I had, I headed up. At first, I started by building a square base, and then I bridged up with cobblestone for the walls. I wanted to have a giant door or window or just something I could look out of, and that's exactly what I did. I ended up using cobblestone stairs to give it more detail, and in the finished product, I think it looked pretty good. I moved onto the roof, and I didn't really want it to look too fancy, so I went with a more simplistic design. At the very top, I placed 4 wooden fences and some torches, and I got a very beautiful view of the sunset. Day 33, I decided to extend the castle downwards towards the bottom of the mountain, and then I started filling it all in. This process was way harder than it looks, so after I ran out of cobblestone, I decided to take a break and work on something else. I spent the night of day number 33 collecting cobblestone for my next build, and then in day number 34, I made a celebratory cake for when I eventually hit day 50 in the coming future. I've made a little platform for the cake to sit on and also placed down a sign where I named it day 50 to remember that I'm halfway done with the challenge when I get to this point. So you know how I have a wheat farm, right? Well, while I was deciding on what to build next, I thought of something pretty cool. Why not pair the wheat farm with a build? So what better thing to build than a silo to store all the wheat in? To build a base, I started by making a circle out of cobblestone, and then all I did after that was raise the walls. It's a pretty simple build, right? I spent day 35 collecting more cobblestone and raising up the walls even more, and then on day 36 I had this really close call. I kept building and building and building up all the walls until tragedy struck. This was my first time ever dying in this world, and I was disappointed because I wanted to make it the entire way without dying once. But I guess we don't always get what we want. After that sad death, I continued to build up the tower, and I obviously didn't learn my lesson because I almost repeated history twice. After finally finishing all the walls, I began to work on the roof. Continuing into day 37, I wanted the roof to have a medieval look, and I wanted the top of the roof to look kind of pointy and sharp, you know? So I followed the pattern 2 blocks up, 1 block up, 2 blocks up, 1 block up, etc. I don't know if that made any sense to you, but it does to me, so just deal with it. And just like that, we are at the very end of the roof, and to finish it off, I added a fence post to add that pointy look to it. This is probably the best roof I end up making in these 100 days, but if you disagree, let me know in the comments below. On day 38, it was time to make an entrance, and the amount of mobs I found in there were actually crazy. Unfortunately, while fighting these creepers, one of them blew up, so now I gotta go fill in that hole. When I went inside, I began to light up the remaining area, just so no more mobs can spawn. I started to mine out a little door entrance, and then I laid down the foundation for the spiral staircase I was planning to build. I wanted to add some detail to the door entrance, so I picked the most detailed block. Just kidding. No, but for real, I actually started to use oak planks and slabs to build out a cool entrance, and I'm actually pretty happy with the final result. I made a few more modifications like adding a door, and also I cleared out a pathway to add gravel to. I began day 39 by grabbing some gravel, and then I made a pathway leading to my silo. Back on the inside, I made some wooden slabs and then started my spiral staircase. It took a while, but I followed the wall all the way to the top, and the final result I'm really happy with. For detail, I added some fence posts to look like they were supporting the stairs' weight. And then on day 40, I started filling in the floor. This floor is where all the storage of wheat is going to go. I built some railing to prevent falling down the stairs, and then placed some torches to light up the area. I didn't really like the grass floor, so I decided to shovel it all out, and I replaced it all with cobblestone. In the morning of day 41, I pretty much walked through what I already built so far in the silo, just to make sure everything was looking good. And by far my favorite part about having a spiral staircase is doing this. I started to build out a spot where I could place all the chests that store the wheat, and then after I placed all the chests down, I think it turned out pretty good. I wanted to make a cool design for the ceiling of the silo, so I made a little pillar of logs, and then built out a plus shape. On day 42, I built a chandelier out of wood fences and torches. I then went down to the wheat farm to replant and harvest all the wheat, and then I stored it all in the silo, and it worked out perfectly. It was now time to start making my wheat farm stand out more. So I started by adding logs going around the entire area, and after quickly running out of logs, I went down to the village in day 43 and I started tearing down anything and everything that had wood. After returning home with more logs, I repeated the same design throughout the entire hill, and so far it was looking pretty good. I did some light terraforming before I extended the farm upwards on the hill. Day 44, I started replanting all the seeds I had, and then I decided to expand the farm even more to the right. I realized it looked kind of weird to have some logs laying down and some standing up, so I replaced all the logs laying down to make it look like they're all standing up, and that definitely made it look a lot better. I began to terraform the back hill even more, just so I can have a third layer of farmland. And then in day 45, I placed logs around the entire area of the new layer of farmland. This process actually took quite a while because of all the terraforming, but it was definitely worth it, and I love how it turned out. Day 46, I was still working on the farm, just hoeing everything and getting it ready to place more crops. And weirdly enough, I actually spent the rest of the entire day doing this. So on day 47, I was still doing the same exact thing. I literally don't know why I liked farming so much, but for some reason it was really fun, so I did it for multiple days straight. I spent like 80% of day 48 just getting a ton of wood, and then when I returned home, I began to build a strip mine. I didn't really have a design plan in mind, but I just started building, and then I began day 49 gathering up some cobblestone. I wanted to finish the strip mine today, so I began by making the design for it, and after coming up with something I actually liked, I started to mine out the strip mine. I placed some fences along the sides of the mine, and then I dug going downwards. I placed some torches so I can actually see what I'm doing. I also did this inside the mine, and then I put some oak logs on the roof to make it look like they're supporting the mine. I also extended them downwards, as you can see. And after placing 2 fence posts, I was finally done with the mine shaft. I decided to move all my stuff from my current house into this new building over here that I built earlier, and I honestly think it's a better house than my other one, so that's what I did. I placed the chests by these windows over here, and then moved the bed to be next to the stairwell. I also added some fences to go around it, and it looks pretty cool. I woke up on day number 50 feeling excited because we finally reached the halfway mark in this challenge. I ran right over to the cake to celebrate, and as I was eating the cake, I thought about the next 50 days, the next half of the challenge. If you made it here and thought the first 50 days were good, then you are gonna love the next, as it gets much better. I spent day 50 harvesting and replanting the wheat, just to make sure every part of the farm can be planted with seeds. On day number 51, I wanted to tear down the castle because it was kind of getting annoying and I wanted to replace it with something else, so I scaled up to the top of the mountain and I began to break it down. I started to think about what I wanted to replace the castle with, and I ended up deciding on a watchtower. This watchtower would help me look over my world and see all of the creations I built, as well as give me a bird's eye view of any new creations I want to build so I can plan out what area I want to build it at. Day 52, I wanted to build out an animal farm, but since I didn't have enough room, I decided to take down my own starter house. I know it's sad to see it go, but since I didn't even use it anymore, it was time to let go and start an animal farm instead. I started the animal farm on day 53, and then on day 54, I made a design out of logs and fences, and I think it turned out great. I added some torches to the fence posts for some added light, and then I went out to gather some sheep. After finally getting 2 sheep in the pen, it was now time for the cows. And this process was honestly so annoying. It took so long to get the cows in the pen, and I ended up only getting 1 in the pen at first. So then in the next day, day 55, I was finally able to have both cows in the pen together. Remember that watchtower that I talked about earlier? Well, I wanted today to be the day where I finally build it. So after climbing up the mountain, I began construction. I started by placing 4 logs down just like this, and then in the very middle I started towering up with oak logs. Once I realized it was about time to go to bed, I water bucket clutched, and then I headed down the mountain. On day 56, I placed 2 cobblestone walls on each log, and then I placed a block of cobblestone on each wall. I then placed a fence post on each block of cobblestone before placing an oak slab on each of the fences. I then connected all of the oak slabs to the middle log just like this, and then I stacked up with cobblestone on each of those new slabs. Next, I built out a little area using the cobblestone, and then I built 2 slabs on each of the corners. I placed walls on each of those slabs, and then fence posts on each of those walls. I then built a barrier going around the entire watchtower out of slabs. I then added an additional fence post going on top of the already made fence post. Next, added walls to each of those fence posts, and then I built a roof for the watchtower out of cobblestone slabs. On day 57, I finished the roof, and then I placed ladders going along the log so I can easily get up to the watchtower. I placed some torches on the corner slabs to make sure it's well lit at night. And after fixing a little issue on the side, I was pretty much done with the watchtower, at least for the most part. I wanted to see what the watchtower looked like from the bottom of the hill, and although it does look a little bit goofy, I honestly don't mind, and I kind of like it. I wanted there to be an entrance to the watchtower from the base of the mountain, so I mined over to the correct spot, and in day 58 I mined down from the watchtower, and then I built a ladder going all the way up. After some finishing touches, the watchtower is now 100% complete. I spent the rest of day 58 just taking in the view from up here, and on day 59 I wanted to build a roller coaster, so I took most of my iron and made it into rails. I also made some powered rails, and after finding a good spot for it, I started building. I built backwards like this at first until I got pretty high, and I will say bridging down was a lot harder, but after a little while I was finally done building out this part of the track. The rest of it was pretty easy. All I had to do was just make lines out of cobblestone. I continued this through day 60, and I even built this little zigzag part here, which I think was pretty cool. And now it's time to place all the rails. I was getting pretty excited to ride this, and after finishing it towards the end of day 60, I got this amazing view of the sunset. Just take a look. In day 61, I wanted to build a fishing dock in this little pond over here, so I decided to go with a simple design, nothing too crazy, and I know it's small, but I think it still adds to this world, even if it's just by a little bit. I did a few more minor details like this chest over here, and then I spent the morning of day 62 looking around my world in the watchtower. I had this really weird impulsive idea to build a giant wall going around everything I've built, and in the outline for it, I definitely made it way too wide and thick. Anyways, me being dumb, I still tried to fill it in, and I did this for the entire rest of day 62. And in day 63, I went to the local forest in search of a dog. After a while of no luck, I went back and returned home, and yet again, I was working on the wall. After getting bored of doing that, I decided to make a new area for my enchanting table to go. So I built a circular base out of cobblestone, and then placed fences in each diagonal corner. Next to the fences, I also placed some oak logs, and on day 64, I grabbed some cobblestone, and I began to work on the roof. I did a pretty basic pattern for the roof, nothing out of the ordinary, but I still think it looks good in the end. On day 65, I decided to enchant all my diamond armor before moving the enchantment table to its new spot. I also decided to destroy my nether portal, and I wanted to move it in a different spot and make an actual structure for it. And then I also went ahead and removed the old enchantment table spot, and then I built the new nether portal structure. I kind of followed the same style as I did with my other builds, and when I finished it in day 66, I think it was looking pretty cool. I finally moved the enchantment table to its new spot, and also placed some crafting tables around it. I forgot to record half of day 67, but I basically spent most of the day gathering cobblestone. And on day 68, I started the biggest project this world has ever seen. And this project that I started is a floating island. I had zero idea on how to build this, but I started by making a ginormous circle, and on day 69 it wasn't looking too great yet, but I was hoping to soon change that. So after redoing the circle literally 3 times, I finally was able to do it. Since I needed a lot of stone for this build, on day 70 I crafted a bunch of furnaces, and this will help speed up the smelting process so it doesn't take so long to get all the stone I need. I spent the rest of day 70 collecting cobblestone, and on day 71 I extended the middle platform of the island downwards. I then built a second circle inside the first one by just following the outline of the first circle, and if I keep repeating this step, eventually I'll get down to a singular point, and that'll be the end of the island. After running out of cobblestone, I had to jump down to go get some more, and currently running out of cobblestone is my biggest setback. So before returning to the mines this time, I decided to enchant my pickaxe, so hopefully the process will go a little faster. I spent the rest of day 71 mining, and in day 72 I built the third circle inside the first and second one. Day 73 I did the exact same thing, as well as day 74, and towards the end of day 75 I somehow slipped off and I died. Since the sun was setting and I didn't want to go fight any mobs without any armor on, I went to bed, and in day 76 I went back to the spot where I died to retrieve my armor. I went back to try and finish the outline, and you can see just how small the circle is, which means we are basically done with the outline for the island. Now obviously there's no stone or dirt placed down yet, but this is basically just the outline for the floating island, and I think I got pretty close to how I pictured it in my head. So now the next step is to place all the stone and dirt and make it look like a real floating island. Day 77 I started placing dirt over the outline, and this process was so time consuming and tedious that even after getting a bunch of dirt in day 78, I basically spent the entire day placing dirt over the outline. I did the exact same thing for the entirety of day 79 and day 80, as well as day 81, 82, 83, 84, 85. I went to the Watchtower to look at my progress before also starting again, and then I finally finished it in day 86. In the editing process here for day 87, I realized that this footage is very glitchy for no reason at all, so I'm not sure what happened, but just bear with me. I'm sorry for this. It's really bad. Basically, I collected some dirt, and then, oh my gosh, it's so bad. In day number 88, I began to fill in the top of the island with dirt. And then in day 89, I decided I wanted to build a little mountain on top of this island, so I began to make an outline for it. And what I came up with wasn't the best, but for my standards, it was pretty decent. So I placed stone around the outline, and then for the second layer, I did the same thing pretty much. After doing that, it was looking pretty good. I took a break just to look at everything I've built so far in this world, and obviously nothing's perfect, but it just feels like home. I was feeling risky, so I decided to water bucket clutch instead of taking the ladder down, and I of course died yet again. I decided to go on a quick ride on the roller coaster, and for some reason I jumped out midway. So yeah, I almost died again. I spent the big day 90 in the Nether, footage still glitchy by the way, and I fought this ghast, and I ended up doing that one really cool thing where you can like hit the fireball back. It's like return to sender. And I don't know why I thought that was super cool, but I was like celebrating and hyped up after doing that for some reason. So yeah, I grabbed some glowstone and I was gonna do something special with it, which I'll show you in a bit. And I ended up just going out and exploring the Nether a little bit, which was basically a big wasteland of netherrack. I don't know, I feel like it's so empty in the old updates that there's nothing really to explore. So after a little bit of searching, I just turned around and went back home. The special thing I'm going to build on day 91 is an Aether portal, or however you say it. It's like the portal to heaven that people tried to do in old Minecraft. And I actually fell for this when I was like 7 years old, so I had to put it in this world just to show that I'm an oldie. Finally, not glitchy footage, and it's day 92, and I spent the entirety of this day strip mining for some gold because I wanted to make that one thing that we all thought would summon Herobrine back in the day. But besides getting these diamonds, it was a huge waste of time as I pretty much got no gold in this whole expedition. In day 93, I decided to make a diamond pickaxe as well as an axe just to have around, I guess. And then I finally had enough levels to finish enchanting all my armor. And you can't forget about the tools. I wanted to finish the mountain on top of the floating island, so I began working on that again, and it didn't really take that long before I was done. And I also carved out this little area for a pond, and then I filled it with water, And then on day 94, I planted some sugarcane behind it. And also, why is it lagging again? Like, what the heck? Hopefully no more footage in this video is laggy, but if it is, I'm sorry in advance. I ended up grabbing some leaves, and I wanted it to look like they're hanging down from the island. And I know it's so laggy that you can't really see what's going on, but I'll just explain it for you. So basically, I put water down, and then I went down the water and placed leaves just randomly, kind of. Oh, I almost died there. And I don't know, this whole leaf thing just gave it kind of like a nature look to it, I guess. On day 95, I built a waterfall coming down from the island. And this waterfall is how I'm going to get up and down from the island. Day 96, I really wanted to find a dog, so I went searching for one last time. For some weird reason, there is no wolves to be seen anywhere around. After no luck, I ended up just leaving and grabbing some pumpkin heads, and I decided that if I can't have a wolf as a pet, I might as well make me some snowman friends. So I went up to the hill and grabbed some snow, and in day 97, I placed a snowman in a minecart and sent him on his way on the roller coaster. I also placed one in the sheep pen to guard the sheep, and then in day 98, I built a small house on top of the island. I was definitely happy with the results in the end. Since 100 days will shortly come to a close, I wanted one of my last projects to be something special. Not for me, however, but for you. I decided to build a garden with all of my top subscribers and supporters' names with signs on it. So I'm going to quickly walk through all the ones I chose and check to see if your name's on that list. It is now day 99, and for this day I decided to build a little river or canal or whatever coming out of the wheat farm. This will be my final build project of the world. After breaking all the grass and filling in all the water, I decided to build a bridge. And although small, I didn't want to end the world with something drastic. I wanted to end it with something peaceful, aka a bridge. I went up to the Watchtower for the final time, and it was a bittersweet moment. I didn't really know how to feel about ending the 100 days here. I liked where I was at, but I feel like I could have done more, and it was kind of just sad to leave it at where it was. I mean, for the last 100 days, I've literally been in this world, and to leave that all behind, maybe forever, is saddening. But I will say though, this experience has brought me back to my childhood, back to the feeling I've not had in years. So although we're ending the 100 days shortly, just remember all the memories we made along the way. Know that you too can experience the joy of old Minecraft again. So let's end this 100 days on a good note. I'm going to be doing a world tour, going back and reliving the memories we made in these 100 days. Day 100 is finally here. I quickly celebrated with the sheep before getting ready for the world tour. Firstly, we got our enchantment table room and our silo up there, as well as a firework launcher that I actually didn't show up being built. Over here we got our little nether portal area. And then we got our aether portal, or however you say it. I still got my furnaces over here, which I never destroyed. I'm gonna keep them here because I feel like I can't take them away now, you know. We got our big island up there, my favorite part in the entire world. So let's head up there really quick and I'll show you around. Firstly, what you're seeing is a big waterfall, and then we got this house over here. We'll add some sugar cane, and that's pretty much the whole island. There's also a hill. Okay, I almost died there, but we're all good. We got our little mining system. Then we got our wall that is unfinished, and I made it too big, but that's okay. You know, we have imperfections in our world. We don't mind. We got our firework launcher here. Again, we didn't show that being built on screen. For our silo, we have a spiral staircase that goes all the way up to the very top. We also got that chandelier up there. And then we got our roller coaster and the snowman's on it. Over here is our subscriber garden or supporter garden. I don't really know what the name is yet. And again, we just have all of these names here. I'm just going to quickly walk by one last time. Thank you to all my supporters and subscribers out there. Without you, I couldn't be doing this, so I want to thank you. On the right, you got our wheat farm here. This is my second favorite thing in the entire world. I love the aesthetic of it. I love everything about it. And lastly, we got our fishing dock, which we never really used. It's kind of just here for aesthetic, I guess, or does like just detail to our world. But I still like it, and if we ever had the chance to play this again, I would definitely use this in 200 days if you guys wanted that. So let me know in the comments if you want 200 days. Okay, well, this is it. This is the end of the road. It's the end of day 100. Feels good to say that. It's also sad to say that, but it's been a nice run. I really did enjoy it, and I hope you guys did too. Followed me along this journey throughout these 100 days if you made it here. And I just want to thank you all. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to make this video for you. And yeah, it's now time to log off the world. Probably forever. Thank you guys. See you all in the next one. Goodbye.